I want to have a kind of interesting conversation here. I'm also going to use this as an opportunity to record a video, and if I actually care enough about it, I might put it out. If not, it'll just be here in the VOD, and then people who watch the VOD can hear it and they can talk about it, which is an interesting byproduct of beginning to stream on YouTube as well. It's that a lot of my Twitch community has a significantly like more foundational understanding of who I am as like a person outside of the talking head in front of the video game that you watch. And I think that's good that my YouTube community and more people on the internet in general who consume my content are getting a better insight into kind of how I approach video games. So the topic of conversation right now is the video I just put out about Ebon and its interaction with Lucky Hit Chance and with Blight. Just as a very, very quick overview, basically, if you take this off and I cast Blight a whole bunch, I will eventually trigger this like 6-digit damage over here that's Lucky Hit Chance to do shadow damage. But when I put on Ebon and I cast it, you'll see multiple procs of that damage over here. On paper, without having the amount of like time and research and energy that I've put into playing the Necromancer, and this is not to talk down to anybody. I don't think I'm smarter than anybody. I'm really, really not. I used to be a scientist, and that was 13 years ago, and I can't really remember how to do statistics, and sometimes I forget my dad's birthday. But one of the things that I've put a lot of time and effort into since before Diablo 4 has come out is understanding how this video game works for the Necromancer to be able to make build guides. And I could give a very long explanation about what's happening here, but basically, this isn't a very powerful interaction in the game. This isn't, as far as I understand, and I'm very willing to be proven wrong by the developers. I can't speak for them. But any other thing in the video game that says your skill now does this additional thing confers some benefits to that additional thing. Here, casting Blight makes more projectiles spawn. Those projectiles then deal a decent amount of shadow damage over time, and that's going to help a lot of different systems to be more powerful. The issue is that each one of these projectiles is proccing a lucky hit coefficient at a rate of 100% coefficient against the base effect, which is a 40% chance here, and is able to proc this every second for 3 seconds per projectile. That's not how lucky hit works. That's not how items that impact the functionality of a skill work. That's not how this lucky hit is meant to interact with this lucky hit. It just isn't what's supposed to be happening in the video game. Now, I think one of the problems that we run into is that a lot of builds in this game's history, including the Necromancer, people like to forget the fact that we used to have the Bone Prison bug, which would cause Bone Prison to apply lucky hit rate multiple times over its entire length. And then we could use that to proc men down. And then when we had the Barber Heart, Necromancer with minions was the strongest build in the game because you could overproc multiple critable and overpower effects simultaneously, and then after 3 seconds it would explode, and then the explosion would actually cause the explosion to read its own damage and then double explode. I'm getting lost in the weeds here. But a lot of builds have had their histories marred by bugs conferring power. When a developer fixes a bug in a game, it stops an unintentional functionality from continuing to perpetuate and cause issues. When you have a bug making a build incredibly strong, you can't then give that build more non-bugged powerful toys because it's already too strong. You would exacerbate the problem. You cause FOMO to happen, and players, regardless of the fact that like other builds being strong don't negatively impact them in any way, shape, or form, will feel as if they can't enjoy playing the game because they aren't playing the flavor of the week. Ball Lightning Sorceress, Hoda Barbarian, back in the day, Barber with Mendeln on Necromancer. Even back in Season 0, Bone Spear Necromancer was one of the only builds that could successfully kill Echo of Lilith. So when somebody wanted to complete the achievement, get the mount, or get the title for killing Lilith, one of the best pieces of advice you could give them was go level a Necromancer and do it on Bone Spear. This all sucks. This is all bad. It's bad for the video game. It's bad for everybody's experience of the video game. And while some people can enjoy just having super broken builds, which is completely fine, my personal mission in playing this video game is to make it as fun for people who watch my content to be able to play it and enjoy it in the ways that they want to be able to enjoy it, knowing that when they put on an item, the item does what it says. knowing that when they put points into a skill, the skill does what it's supposed to. When we have bugs in the game that are disproportionately empowering certain playstyles, the developers, again, can't just keep giving us more stuff. And if they don't fix the bug, one of the more insidious things that happens is that the player base begins to think it's not a bug at all. It's meant to work like this. This is how the game's meant to work. And because of that, we then draw incomplete or incorrect conclusions about other systems. I want to give you an example. This is one that has fundamentally changed the player base's understanding as a whole about how the lucky hit system works, because the Necromancer has been riddled with bugs since the game came out. If you've watched any of my videos, ever, decrepify has always been a pretty hot topic of conversation, because it has a very powerful lucky hit effect that is seemingly unique to all other lucky hit effects. It has the ability to reduce cooldown anytime an enemy is hit. Now that's kind of the problem. It actually isn't that it has an innate lucky hit chance whenever a monster gets hit by an effect. Only lucky hit effects are meant to trigger lucky hit. What is a lucky hit effect? A skill that deals damage is a lucky hit effect. Blight has a lucky hit chance. Corpse Explosion has a lucky hit chance. Bone Prison does not have a lucky hit chance because Bone Prison doesn't do damage. It's not meant to trigger lucky hit. When it was triggering Mendeln, it was doing so because of a bug in the way that the Bone Prison applies vulnerable. That was a bug. That was never meant to work that way. Similarly, decrepify has, for whatever reason, allowed you to reduce cooldown by the weirdest things in this game. The one that was most notably changed very recently was that Thorn's damage from your minions used to trigger Abhorrent Decrepify. And because Abhorrent Decrepify seemed to be different, because no other lucky hit effect works like this. Every other lucky hit effect needs you to use a skill with a lucky hit chance coefficient to be able to work. It literally made us think that Abhorrent Decrepify's verbiage, the fact that it says enemies hit, gave it a special lucky hit chance or a special unique interaction in this video game. And when I pointed out the fact that Thorn's damage was triggering Decrepify, but it wasn't triggering Hued Flesh, which says your damage has a chance to generate a corpse, I reported that as a bug to the developers. If it triggers Abhorrent Decrepify, it is damage. That means that it should trigger Hued Flesh. And when they fixed the bug, they didn't make it so that Thorn's damage triggers Hued Flesh. No. They fixed the fact that Abhorrent Decrepify was triggering from Thorn's damage. That's my fault. I found a bug in the game, and because I drew an incorrect conclusion off of a secondary and older bug in the game, when they fixed it, it literally made the Necromancer weaker. It made summon and minion builds weaker. But the problem was, the developers didn't think that this was in the game working this way. They weren't able to develop the minions and empower them in ways that would make them stronger because they didn't know that this was happening. And once they did fix it, while it was a net negative to the minions, what it opened up the door to was the necessity to empower them in different ways since they had removed this power from us. And I could go on and on. There is an insane amount of bugs in this game, most notably the Gloom bug. Gloom only gives you half of its total damage bonus against bosses. Why? I don't know. I was made aware of this from Ava. Ava works in the Sanctuary Discord, also part of Maxroll now. But they made me aware. I went and tested it. I got it into the hands of developers. I said, hey, this is a bug. I actually need to test whether or not they fixed it. But when people tell me don't report bugs, don't get them to fix bugs, do you not want them to fix this one, which is stealing half of your damage bonus against a boss? No, you probably want them to fix this, right? When Bone Prison was required on every single minion build just to be able to proc Mendeln, and Bone Prison back then you couldn't like run through it, so you had to like cast it and then remove it and then get your minions to move inside of it and then recast it, etc. Did people like doing that? No, it sucked, and also caused the build to overperform in very specific scenarios, but continue to be very weak in different scenarios. When I find bugs in this game, I'm going to report them. Because I think it's important for the video game to work the way that it should when you read the items and when you do stuff and when you equip stuff, when you click stuff. Because for power gamers, sure, I could go abuse this right now And in fact, I'm going to test out just how ridiculously powerful it is, because I don't want to see this in Season 4. That's my personal desire. You can argue that I'm going to negatively impact your ability to enjoy the game in the way that you want. Sure. But for every single power gamer who is willingly abusing known bugs, almost to the point of exploits, for the purposes of playing the game in a more powerful way, there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of casual players who are putting stuff on and then getting screwed over by the fact that things don't work in the way that they assume that they will, but with no recourse. They get nothing. They don't have a platform like I do. They don't even have a platform like the larger communities like the Reddit and the forums have either, or the larger Discords like the Sanctuary Discord. They just get screwed over. So for every bug that we find that's too powerful, that warps your ability to enjoy the game because you're not playing Ball Lightning or you're not playing Hoda, there are 10 more that are just making it so that when you click a button, you literally aren't doing more damage, or the skill doesn't do what it's supposed to do, or you're dying when you should have survived because the stat doesn't do what it does. I don't think that we should allow the misconception that regular strength builds in this game aren't good because there are overperforming and bugged builds in the game. Make it so that we are okay with playing a broken game that is unintuitive, that you can't reason with, which makes no logical sense and forces you to come to incorrect conclusions, negatively impacting your ability to play the game to the best of your ability in the future. This isn't that serious. I literally have a job to do, which is create content that helps people enjoy playing the game. I personally like finding and testing things. And one of the benefits that the developers of this game get from me is that I bring them stuff when I find it. And that's generally to the benefit of the game. I could go through and point out every single bug that is in the game right now, or that was resolved in the game, that I feel like I'm personally responsible for bringing to the table, that have empowered the Necromancers. But one, it's just going to seem like a weird, like, pat on the back moment. But for every one of these things that I find that are too powerful, I find something that isn't powerful enough, and I report both of them equally. Hopefully so that the game makes sense for when that person who just installed it or just got on Game Pass or just got it on sale and they walk up and they go, oh, hey, cool, I put on this skill and I used it and it did damage. I think that is ultimately like the best case scenario. And if it means that this new unique amulet doesn't make me do quintillions of damage for no investment at all, I'm going to go ahead and chalk that up as a win. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. I just want to put this out there. I literally don't know if I'll ever release this video, but if I did and you watched it and you vibed with it, let me know. If you hate it, also let me know. It's free engagement down in the comments. Honestly, it helps me in the algorithm. I appreciate it. But there you go. Thank you very much for listening to me win, John. I know I'm a crybaby. I know I'm a corporate shell. It's okay. I chose this life. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.